Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Today's webinar, we are going to discuss SketchUp as part of the Cadsoft Partner Integration Spotlight. My name is Chad. I will be your host as we discuss everything about SketchUp this afternoon. So before I get started, just want to let everyone know how the presentation is going to work here. What I'm going to do is give my formal presentation. We're going to discuss how Envisioneer and SketchUp can integrate, how we can take models from Envisioneer, send them out to SketchUp, which we can then take and use in various other platforms. Also as well use SketchUp files and bring them into Envisioneer to be able to use different 3D models in the Envisioneer software as well. So after the presentation, I will open up the question panel. In the GoToWebinar panel right side of your screen, there is a question section where I invite you to put in any questions that you might have, whether it's during the webinar or after the webinar, and I will do my best to answer those questions live. So SketchUp. First off, I want to let everyone know, I know last week's webinars, if you were attending them, we had a couple of guest speakers on the actual topics at hand. Unfortunately, in our attempt to reach out to SketchUp, they did not have anyone that would want to come and help us out with this webinar today. So unfortunately, you're stuck with me in my my knowledge of SketchUp here. So I'm going to try my best to show you all of some of the tools that can be used in SketchUp, and just some quick tutorials on the SketchUp software. So first off, we can see here we're actually in Envisioneer. We've got a 2D model pulled up here. So we've added everything in here that we want to add to our model. Windows, doors, walls, we've got some bathroom fixtures, a deck on the back, that kind of stuff. If I come into my 3D view here, just into a 3D perspective, we can see how the model looks. We've got everything set up. We can spin around, navigate around just like we would in Envisioneer. So once we've got this all set up, we've got the option here, as with all of our integration partners, to be able to export to SketchUp. SketchUp's native file is an SKP file, and we're going to be able to export to that SKP file that we can then bring that up in SketchUp, or other programs that maybe see an SKP file and use it more often than you might be able to use an actual BLD file, where BLD would be the Envisioneer native format, only available to be opened within Envisioneer. So that SKP file is just more globally recognized that other platforms, other software, you might be able to bring that SKP file into. So when we're ready to export our model, it's just a matter of coming up to File and into the Export menu. And we've got the option to export a 3D model. If I click on that, it gives me the option to come in and locate where I want to save this file. Then when we export, since we're exporting a 3D file, we've got lots of different types of 3D files we can export to, but we can see here there is a SketchUp option, a .skp option that if we select that, type in our file name, sample project for example, and if we click save, it's going to go through the export process. First off, it brings up a question, do we want to optimize the geometry on export? So that's just going to clean up any geometry, make it nice and easy for SketchUp to be able to read and bring in everything smooth. So in this case, I'm going to choose yes. Then I'm going to go through the process of exporting faces, exporting all of the different geometry and everything that's a part of this model. You'll know everything's complete when you get the confirmation here, the export successful, and I can go ahead and click OK. So now I've got my model exported to SKP. I can now use other platforms to bring in that SKP model and open up the model that I've created. If I jump to SketchUp here, so just opened up SketchUp earlier, here's the first screen that comes up. Now SketchUp is a free program. You're able to download it, and what it's going to do for you is you're able to draw and create your own 3D models. So whether it's just some basic geometric shapes, or you can see as intricate as that little watch design there, or the DeLorean, of course, as well. So before opening SketchUp, I just want to bring up the SketchUp website. So bring that over from my other screen. So here, just simply SketchUp.com. If you wanted to download the free version, the easiest way to draw in 3D, we got the big red download SketchUp button. You can take and download it and install. It is a standalone program that would install on your machine, and you could have SketchUp at your disposal. There is a pro version as well that you can buy. I'm not sure much of the details on what the pro version gets you, but there is an option to actually buy a version of SketchUp as well. So then you can go ahead and download SketchUp, and when you do and install it, SketchUp Make is what the free version is called, and this is just a sample of SketchUp here. So all I'm going to do is start using SketchUp, click that in the bottom right corner, and then it's going to bring up the drawing screen for SketchUp. So you can see here, this is the drawing screen right in the middle, very similar to Envisioneer. This is where we can draw our 3D models. So what I want to do is just quickly open up that 3D model that we exported. Simply File, Open, and I'll track down that model, the sample project. Go ahead and open that up, and we should be able to see that here now within SketchUp. So again, there is a beautiful shot of the roof. I'm just going to use the scroll wheel on my mouse and zoom out, and we can see that it defaults to a 2D overhead view. Using my middle scroll wheel button, I'm going to hold it down just like it's a regular mouse button, and as I hold it down and drag away, I get the option to navigate around. So as I drag right, it'll spin to the right, drag left, spin to the left, drag up or down, I can change my view. So that's holding the middle mouse button and navigating around. I've also got the option to zoom in, so I can use my scroll wheel and actually scroll it forward. Allows me to zoom in, scroll out, zooms back. So there we can see the model that we exported. And like I said, from here we can take and use this SKP model to export to different platforms. We can also take and add different details on here if we wanted to use SketchUp to add more detailing or whatever we wanted to do when we're actually in SketchUp as well. One interesting export format that I noticed was the ability to export the 3D model within SketchUp to a Google Earth file. So I believe what you can do with that is if you've got Google Earth, you can go in and actually place your model down right directly on a specific lot and actually see how that model would look in that lot within Google Earth. So that is one interesting other thing that I found about exporting and using SketchUp. A couple other uses that we can do for exporting models to the SKP format. If you wanted to create blocks, so if you're ever in Envisioneer and you've modeled a couple of different things together, whether it's perhaps a pergola that you've created, you've put in individual columns, you've put in individual members, and you've created that to create a pergola. If you wanted to create that pergola and make it one single block, we don't have the ability to do that in Envisioneer, but you could take and isolate those columns, those beams, whatever you make that pergola look like. You could isolate all those objects by turning everything else off, and then when you export that 3D model, you can export it to that SKP format that you can then bring it back in to Envisioneer as one full block rather than multiple pieces. So that's another handy option for being able to export options from Envisioneer to the SKP file format. The next thing I want to do is just quickly actually draw a quick little model here in SketchUp. And like I said earlier, I'm not by no means a professional here using SketchUp, but we're going to create a quick little column. So I'm just going to go File, New. I don't want to save any changes that I made to my sample project. And we can see we're back to the opening screen. So every time you start a new project within SketchUp, it automatically brings in this little component or this picture of the woman. And usually I start off by deleting that out so that I can start drawing whatever model I want. So on the left-hand side, we've got all of our different draw tools. So we've got the arrow, which is going to be a selection tool, allow us to select items. We've got the paint bucket, which will allow us to add materials or colors to objects, just like materials you have in Envisioneer. The eraser allows you to erase specific objects or delete objects. We've got the line tool, which will allow you to draw in lines. The freehand line, which will allow you, rather than having nice straight lines, allow you to freehand in whatever lines you want. A rectangle tool that will allow us to draw rectangles. Circle tool, polygon tool, arc tool, two-point arc, different arc options. Then we can get into move tool, so that will allow you to duplicate or move objects. The push-pull is a very handy little tool that we can use to create definition in objects, and we'll show you how to use that push-pull tool. Rotate, scale, offset, measure, dimensions, text with leaders, those types of things. Lots of tools very similar to what you could use in Envisioneer. Then we've got navigation tools. We've got the orbit tool that will allow you to orbit around. The pan tool allows you to pan up and down. Zoom in, zoom out, zoom to a window, zoom extents, again, tools you're familiar with from Envisioneer. And then we've got the navigation tools as well, where you can position a camera, place your own camera to get a specific view. The look around tool, again, very similar to Envisioneer, the way we look around, where the camera will stay stationary and then we can look around our target and move the target around. And we've also got the feet, which is the walk around, that as you click and drag, you can walk around into the different directions. So we can see here our drawing screen, it shows the three axes, or axes. We've got the green axis, the red axis, and the vertical blue axis. So we can use these. Usually what I like to do is start my drawing right at the very origin point and just start off and draw from there. So like I said, we're going to draw a quick little column here. I'm going to start off by drawing something in 2D, so flat on the green and red axis. So as I come to my origin point, you can see that the tip of my pencil turns to a yellow dot. That means that I've got a snap point. And as I drag away and drag out, you can see that I'm starting to create a rectangle. Down in the very bottom right gives me the actual dimensions that I'm drawing this at. And my prompt is here as well, telling me how to use the tool. So if I wanted to enter in specific dimensions, if I wanted to go, for example, 2 feet by 2 feet, I'm going to type in 2 foot, comma, 2 foot, and enter, and that's going to create a 2-foot square for me. So just scroll my mouse wheel, and I can get in there and see what my rectangle does. Next thing I'm going to do is use the push-pull tool. So what this will allow me to do is this automatically creates a face because we enclosed it with some lines. I can take and select this face by left-clicking, and as I drag up, it's starting to pull and create that third dimension of that flat rectangle that we created. Again, I can enter a value, so right now I'm going 3'2". If I wanted to make this a 4-foot tall base, I could type in my 4-foot value in the bottom right and click OK, and now I'm starting to create my column. The next thing I'm going to do is use the offset tool. So we got the offset tool here that I can take and select on an edge, and I can create an offset either away from that box that I selected or towards the inside of that box that I selected. So if I want to create, pretend this is a brick base and I'm going to put on a column cap, just going to eyeball it here. It looks like about 2.5 inches, and left click, and now I've created a rectangle for the next portion. Again, using my push-pull tool, I can come in here. If I just get over top a little bit more by clicking my middle mouse button and dragging my view, I can take and pull that little rectangle section up. If I wanted to make my concrete cap 3 inches, I can type that in, 3 inches, and enter, and that will take and set that value. Now if I want to remove this little square, I want the entire top to be flat. I'm going to use my select tool and just simply come in here, select on this top line here, and hit the delete key on my keyboard to delete that off. You can see now it's removed that indent. And I'm just going to do the same thing on the 4 other lines here and delete them out as well. So now you can see what we're starting to do as far as creating our 3D object here. So again, now to add in the post, I'm going to come in, use my offset tool again, click on one of the edges, and I'm going to create a post to the middle of my column. Now that I've got that separate square, I can take and use my push-pull tool again, use that middle square that I created, and I can create the rest of my column. So if I wanted to come up 4'6", for example, I can type that in, press enter, and there I'm starting to create my column. And just one more time, using the offset, I'm going to use this edge and pull it out. I'm just going to create a little cap on top. And then use my push-pull tool so I can pull this up. And 1 inch, bring it up. And if I want to flatten that off, I can just take and delete the edges. And now I've created a column with a stone base, a concrete cap, and a wood post with a cap on it as well. So now that I've created the object I want, I can now start to add materials. I can use my paint bucket here, select the paint bucket, and come over to my materials dialog, and I can drop down the menu here and actually pick different materials. So if I go brick, cladding, and siding, perhaps I want to do a brick color. It's just a matter of, just like the material paintbrush, clicking on where we want to add the material and placing it on. Now if I want to add a material to my cap, I can. I'm just going to choose a concrete material. I'm going to paint the top and then come around and paint the 4 sides. And then if I want to take care of the actual column itself as well, come into the wood, and I can grab a wood grain and put it on as well. Do the same with the cap. Put that on. Right now, just because of time, I'm not going to worry about adjusting the grain on that, but we can take and turn the grain of that post so that it's vertical and looks more like what an actual post would look like. So that's how we can quickly create an object in SketchUp. Now what I'm going to do is save this object and show you how you can bring this back into Envisioneer and use it in your Envisioneer model. So I'm going to go up to File. I want to save this model I created. File, Save As. I'll call this column. Save it to my desktop. One thing to caution, the latest version of SketchUp is 2016, and that's what I've got downloaded here. Latest version of Envisioneer is 11, which came out before SketchUp 2016. So unfortunately, we don't support SketchUp 2016 files. So what we need to do when we come in to save this is actually save it as a version 2015 file so that we're able to bring it into Envisioneer. So save my column as a 2015 file, go ahead and save it, and as I come back to Envisioneer, to bring this back in, we're going to use the Object Wizard. So if I go to File and Import, got the option here to use the Object Wizard, and I can go through this wizard to be able to insert my column that I've created. So give it a name, column with brick base. What type of element is it? Well, it's going to be a column. Select the file that I want to use. I save that to my desktop, called it column. I can open that up. There's a little preview of it. Go ahead and click next. This dialog will allow us to orient it. So if we had an irregular shape and wanted to orient it against another wall, this dialog would allow us to do that. In this case, I don't need to do that. Then what we've got here is all of the different components. I didn't actually clean this out. It would have been nice to clean it out so that we only had the 3 materials to be able to change in Envisioneer: the brick base, the concrete cap, and the wood. But you do have the option here to actually close the eyeballs. Anything that's not visible or that you don't want to be visible, you can take and adjust your SketchUp file here with this as well. So then once we get to the bottom, here we are. Here's the 3 materials that we've got that are actually turned on. If I just wanted to give the top part of the post and show that in 3D, I could turn off the other 2 layers or locations. If I just wanted to show the base, for example, I could turn off the actual wood column. So you can use the eyeballs here to toggle items on and off if you wish. Click on Next. The next screen allows me to create a 2D plan view. So again, I'm just going to turn off all of these components or these layers that don't apply at all. So we've got the ability to use a 2D layer that's already shown, or we've got just tools here that we can use outline or slices as well. So if I want to use the outline of this column for my 2D plan view, what it's going to look like in 2D, I can take and add that. I've also got the ability to add slices. So we can see this yellow box here. As I drag my slider up, it's going to slice through the different spots within the column. So if I wanted to show the actual wood portion of the post as well, I could take and add a slice in here and create my 2D view with multiple slices if I wanted to. I've also got the ability to rename these slices, so if I just simply wanted to call them 2D plan, so that they're easily visible when I'm in my Appearance tab, I can do that as well. So I've created my 2D, I can carry on, click Next, and then I can place my column in wherever I want. And there we go, that column is now a part of my Envisioneer model. If we look at the properties of this part, we can see that it's all one entity. I can change the size if I wanted to. The appearance, so we can see all of those different items that were in the file are listed in my components. And I can come in here if I wanted to change to more of the stone that was on the base of the house. I can come in here into my Envisioneer materials and actually change those materials around. So under stone, in my Chardonnay Blended Southern Legend, there we go. We've got the same stone on the base. And I can also change if I wanted to give the wood portion of the column a different wood texture. I can come in and select a different material as well for that. And of course, mapping here, I can do that very easily. Tell it I want it to be 90 degrees, and there we are. We've got the wood grain going the proper way. Click OK, and now my column is updated. So that's how we can create objects and bring objects into Envisioneer. Another option that we've got for SketchUp objects is the 3D warehouse. SketchUp users that use SketchUp and create their 3D objects in SketchUp have a place that they can publish all of those objects and share them with everybody. That is the Google 3D Warehouse, or the 3D Warehouse. And if I bring back my browser here, the 3D Warehouse is just simply 3dwarehouse.sketchup.com, or a simple internet search for 3D Warehouse would find the same website. So within this website is all of the different 3D models that we can take and look at and actually download and import into our Envisioneer drawings if we want. So for example, I can do a search here if I wanted to search for a specific file. If I wanted to search for a sofa, for example, I could enter that search in, and we can see all of these different sofas that different SketchUp users have created. So I can find one that I like, click on it to select it, and there we are. There's a quick image of what this sofa is going to look like. I've also got the option here to view it in 3D. So in 3D, I can actually spin around and have a look at it, see what this object looks like in 3D. And then we've also got details about this object. Now, these details are pretty important to pay attention to when you're downloading 3D objects. Some SketchUp files can be very large, get very large in size, and not that Envisioneer can't handle the large files, but if you get too many large files into your Envisioneer model, you're going to experience some slowdown, some lag, some stress on your video card, just because the file size is getting so large because you've got so many objects and so much geometry in your model. So just beware when you look at the SKP file size, for example. Usually we recommend trying to be under 1 megabyte for a file size. That's going to keep your model to a nice low file size and make navigation in 3D a lot easier and a lot smoother in Envisioneer. Polygons, keep a nice low count of polygons. Just don't, if you notice anything in the hundreds of thousands, that's lots of polygons. Again, just a lot of geometry that's going to come into your 3D model and not be or not allow it to work as well as it can. So once you find one that you like, we can click on this download button. We can see we've got different options of versions of the model that we can download. Like I said, beware of 2016 models. Envisioneer is not going to be able to import 2016 models. So if I just grab this 2015 model here, go ahead and download it and save it. I can then come back to Envisioneer again, File, Import. I want to use that object wizard, and I'm going to import that new sofa that I just downloaded. Interior furniture, then we click on select, go out and find where that sofa is. It would have downloaded to my downloads folder. We can see here some different 3D objects that I've also downloaded. So I can select the sofa that we downloaded. There it is. We can see a preview. Go ahead, go next. We can see all of the different materials that we can, again, turn on, turn off if we want. You can see here if we wanted to just show the sofa with no pillows, we could turn off the pillows and hide the visibility of them. So that's what we can do here. I'm just going to carry on and go next. In this case, I'm going to try and add a slice here, and maybe add a slice through this area, and maybe another one to show the cushions as well. So I can add in 2 slices. Go ahead, click next, and finish that up, and there I've got a sofa that I can import and insert into my drawing as well. If I go into 2D, we can see those 2 items in 2D. So there's the 2D plan that I created of the sofa and the 2D plan that was created for the column as well. So that's how we can take and import SKP objects as well, those objects that were created with SketchUp. Another thing I want to go over, another handy way to use SketchUp is if I go back to the 3D warehouse, and if I go back to the sofas, I notice there's one here that's got a sofa and looks like a bunk bed or something. If I take and download this file, make sure I get the 2015 model, download it. If I only wanted this sofa, or if I only wanted this bunk bed out of this file, when I download it and import that into Envisioneer, it's going to bring them both in. So what I've got the option of when I've got SketchUp is I can take and go and open that file. So there's my couch and bunk bed. Open that file up, and then I can take and actually edit that file. So we can see there's the two items. If I only wanted the bunk bed, I could just simply take and select. I just did a box selection around that sofa, and I'm going to hit the delete key and delete it out. Now I've got just the bunk bed. If I didn't like these pillows, I could also take and select those and delete them off. The ladder is probably its own separate little entity there I could take and delete off. I could probably take and actually move this as well if I wanted to. Move it down to the other end, for example. When I make any changes and I want to save those changes, okay, now I'm fine, I want to import that bed in, I can then just take and resave that file. Do a save as to make sure that I'm able to get a 2015 file type. Yes, overwrite that file, and now I'd be able to bring that into Envisioneer as well. So that's another little handy tool that you can use to bring and edit SketchUp blocks to bring in only the necessary objects that you want to bring in. The last thing I wanted to go over, if we just go back to Envisioneer here, is lights. So if you download a light, you want to insert a specific light into your model. You find a nice one that you like on the SketchUp warehouse, and you bring it in, but there's no light properties to it. It doesn't emit any light. There's no light bulbs there. What I want to show you is how you can actually add the light properties. So what I'm going to do is come into my Interiors tab. I'm going to click on Interior Lighting. And what I've got is a pendant light that I'm going to insert here. So I'm just going to come into my pendant light, come in and right-click, and I want to add an element. So this is another way that we can add elements and bring in custom blocks. Rather than going through the import wizard, we can do it right through the properties of a light. So I'm going to add an element. This is the light here that I want to add. So I'm going to select it and click Open. Again, we can go through this import process, turn items on and off if we want. And I will add that outline. Maybe add in a slice as well. There, that's a nice 2D view. It's going to show what I want to show in 2D and carry on and finish. Now, since I've added it as a light itself, it brings up the properties dialog for the light. So again, I can adjust the size. It is set to a custom block because it is a block that we've selected. But what we're concerned with here is the actual light. So when I create it as a light, it will actually give us a light. So we can take and set the position of where this light is. So if we take our z-axis and take it to the maximum, we can see there now our light sitting way up at the top where it attaches to the ceiling. Probably not what we want. If we go to the minimum, there it actually puts the light in where the light would be. So we can take and do that. A couple of different strategies. We could also take and do a custom and drop it just slightly below that light so that when it actually shines and is doing a rendering, we'll be able to see a better representation of how that light's going to shine. So usually drop it down a couple inches is what we recommend, so that it's just sitting below the actual light object itself. Got the ability to change the type of bulb that's being used. If it was a multi-light chandelier or a vanity light that had multiple lights, we could add in 2 or 3 different lights all at the same time so that they all shine. You can point the lights in different directions. Lots of different things that we can do with these lights. So once you get that, we can go ahead and click OK. And now I've got that light added in that I can go ahead and select it and drop it down into my space. And when I come into a 3D view here, if I place a new camera, we can see that light and we can see that it's actually emitting light. So that's how we can create lights and bring in custom SketchUp objects again and actually give them light bulb properties that they can emit light and help us with our renderings as well. So that's everything I wanted to cover about SketchUp today. So we're able to use SketchUp. We're able to export our models to SketchUp, export just parts of our models to SketchUp if we wanted to create just a block of something. So we can use that to our advantage. Within SketchUp, we can actually use the tools to create our own 3D models or edit 3D models that we find. And with those models that we find, we're able to actually bring them back into Envisioneer and use them as part of our drawings. And we're also able to save elements to our catalog that we can use those items we import over and over again in our future drawings as well. So with that, I'm going to open up the question section. If you happen to have any questions about SketchUp and bringing in blocks, how to use the SketchUp blocks, feel free to type those in and I'll do my best to answer those questions right now. Just a quick question about availability of the video later on. Somebody missed a little bit of time. Yes, this session is being recorded, that it will go up to the YouTube page that you can view this video later on. Okay. No other questions there yet, so feel free to type those questions in. That's a good thing about these live webinars, is the ability to ask questions that you might have. I just got a comment, best program ever. I certainly hope you're talking about Envisioneer. Yes, SketchUp is a great program as well, but I hope that comment is about Envisioneer. Thank you very much. Okay, another question here. What kind of license restrictions are on the 3D warehouse models? Okay, so if you go up to the 3D warehouse, go in and find a model. I'm not sure the actual license restrictions there. You probably have to look at the end user license agreement there to see what those blocks can be used for. I would assume that you've got the ability to use them in personal projects, but I'm not sure about commercial use or putting models up to the website that have those 3D SketchUp or the 3D warehouse models in them. So yeah, as far as licensing, that might take some reading on the SketchUp website. Okay, next question. Can you make a custom panel to put on the outside of a home? A wood-raised panel under windows? Yes, certainly. You can do anything like that. So if we go back into SketchUp, if I just start a new drawing here, delete out Lisette here, and if I wanted to create a rectangle, draw in the rectangle, we can come in and use our push-pull to give this a little bit of thickness. If we want to make it 1.5 inches thick, then we can come in if we want to, I don't know, freehand in some customization, I guess we'll call it. There we go. Just going to draw a line across here. And we'll delete this out. And I can use my push-pull to pull that up. So there, I've got my cool little custom panel that I've created. I'm just going to try and rotate this. So I want to take and I think actually I want to rotate it on the red axis if I can get this protractor to go to the red. Whoops, that didn't work. Okay, so my true skills are coming out here for SketchUp. All right, so I can't get that flipped up, but anyways, you could certainly save this, create whatever object you wanted, whatever panel or whatever type of object you want. The sky's the limit as far as what you can actually create. And just save that, and just using the import wizard, import it in. So you can then take in Envisioneer and customize the size. So if you got different window sizes, you could take and customize the size within Envisioneer, or you can create an individual panel for all of the different window sizes right directly in SketchUp. So hopefully that answers that question. I realize that's not the best demonstration of how to do a custom panel like that, but I'm sure you get the idea and realize what can be done there. Okay, I don't see any other questions there, so thank you everyone for joining me. Great questions today, and hopefully you realize what SketchUp can do for you, and use that with the integration in Envisioneer. So again, thanks everyone for joining me, and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye for now.